Hi everyone, thought I'd do a bit of a video. Sun's out, so it's not going to be any sewing or anything, a bit of an update on what I'm doing. And I've had a few questions asked, so I'll try and answer them best I can regarding the polytunnel and the whole netted hoop things. But we're doing a bit of work, so I thought I had a bit of a bit of spare cash, so I thought, well, needs doing, so we'll have a look at that in a minute, what I've been doing, and then you'll get an idea then. So first of all, we'll have a look at some of these sort of questions first. Just turn the camera around because I'm not going to edit this, this is just on the fly this. Right, so people are asking, how do I get in to these netted hoops? Obviously this net's not dropped down at the moment, it's lifted up. But I have one sort of here to the ground, which is another way you can do it in case you haven't got raised beds. And all I do is simply, it's pegged in the middle there, some along the side. Basically unpeg one side and one of the ends, and that side will lift right up. There'll be enough slack for it to lift up on one side, but you can undo all the pegs and just flip it all up to the middle. It's as simple as that, and then you just drop it back down. It takes minutes to do. It's not complicated at all. But it's been in many of my videos where you see me getting in the net and making the nets and stuff like that, but it's just a question that I get asked quite a lot. So all this sort of stuff needs clearing down here, because I've got a bit of work to do. We'll have a look at that in a minute. Next question is regarding my polytunnel. I can't remember the subscriber, but just have a look in the polytunnel. So everything's still alive and growing okay, apart from that one that I said I remember I sort of snapped it accidentally. So, but I've got a few extras I've sown here. I've got some more of the broccoli, some more Clapton, and some Rigoletto, which is like a Savoy cabbage. I went down the allotment the other day to do some measuring up, and it's very wet there, past underwater, really wet, but I've got a bed with some small Rigoletto, so next time I get up there I'll take the camera with me. But I don't intend on going up for a little while yet. But everything else is doing okay in here, and the spuds, nothing there yet. A few more of the garlic has started to come up now, so they're all pretty much fired, to be honest. I don't know how well you can see, but just make it out there, you get a lot of these little tiny nibs starting to come up now. They just need that little bit of heat. We've had some lovely sort of sunshine. How long it's going to last, I don't know, but I need to take advantage of it. So right, regarding the polytunnel, it's not a posh, or an expensive polytunnel from like First Tunnels or Northern Tunnels. This was a cheapy one from eBay with the green cover on that blows to bits. Now I'd advise anyone who's buying a polytunnel, if you're going to get the cheap one, get something with this sort of frame. It's 25mm or 1-inch sort of galvanised aluminium. It's pretty sturdy. I'll show you some of the other frames in a minute that you can get and what not to get. But if you get a cheap one, if you're a bit skint, get a cheap one with this sort of frame on it. And then when the cover blows to bits, then you can deal with it. So this was just one of them cheap polytunnels. Another important thing is this stuff. This is anti-hotspot tape. So this polytunnel's been stood for about 10 years now, and it's still doing all right. So all I basically do, imagine this polytunnel had no timber in it at all, anywhere. It didn't even have door frames, it was just one of them ends with the zips on it that flaps about and falls to pieces, with all little square holes in it and everywhere. So this used to be at my old allotment, this, and I used to have a cheap one here that blew to bits. So when I left the last allotment, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to downsize to one polytunnel. Now it's only a 6 foot by 10 foot. Sometimes it's a bit tight, but I get by. I will probably someday extend and get a bigger one. How much bigger, I don't know, depending on how much the garden I'm willing to sacrifice. So basically, used timber, bought timber, made the frames, and how I attached this to sort of the actual metal bars. There's stuff called strap banding. I haven't got any on hand in here at the moment, but I'll show you. It kind of looks a bit like that, and it's just a strip of stuff, aluminium. It's usually galvanised, and I just wrap it around the pole and screw it to timber, and that braces it across there. So these uprights, you know, they go into the ground, but they're all timber reinforced. You know, timber will rot, so how much longer that'll last, I don't know. I'll probably deal with that if the cover goes or something else goes, then I'll deal with the whole thing then. These things here have no real bearing as such, but it's there as something to fix something to, as you've seen on this side. Should I ever get round to making another shelf, which I'd like to do, but I've been meaning to do it for about 5-6 years, and as usual, never get round to it. But this is kind of enough, and I use this as a drying rack for my onions. You've seen in other videos, it's a real handy little contraption. You know, it's in here for the seeding sort of time, and then when my tomatoes need to go in, it goes out ready for the onions to be harvested, and the garlic as well to dry them. Also, I think it's kind of important to have a net ventilation should you sort of like be at work and it suddenly gets hot. At least there'll be a bit of an airflow, ideally at both ends. I've just got this bubble wrap on because obviously you still get chilly winds coming through at the moment, but if it's hot like today, the door's open. I've got a thermometer down here. We'll just reset it. I mean, it's been down to 1.4 degrees and 24.5. So what is it currently down here? 15.2. That's in the shade, low down in the polytunnel. If you've got something in the sun, it might read something ridiculous. I've got the other one here, which sends a signal up to my room. That's 20.5. Again, it's kind of a bit shaded there. You know, because if you stood it down, you know, right down there in the sun, it would get up to that ridiculous 40, 50 degrees. So obviously the floor's going to be cooler. You know, and you trap some of the heat here. And obviously this gets covered up every single night. I put some canes across the top of it. I just throw bubble wrap and a bit of fleece over it. So, but they do get that day, the natural daylight as good as they can. Any slight breeze that blows in, provided it's not too cold, but most things in here are fairly hardy. And that will sturdy everything up. Right, we'll have a look at this other cheap polytunnel framework. So I just hope that kind of explains, you know, it was a cheap polytunnel. It wasn't an expensive one. I think I paid about 75 quid for it originally. But I've spent another probably 80 quid on timber and then probably 50, 60 quid for the plastic to kind of convert it. And it's pretty damn sturdy. But when you put your cover on, tighter the better. It has, you can dig it in. I've trapped this basically. It's just a polythene goes down on a piece of wood and then folds underneath, and then that screws and traps it. Right, the cheaper frame, I've still got the old polytunnel frame down here. I'll show you. It's this sort of thing. It's all pushed together stuff, and it just falls to pieces. To be honest, if you're going to do gardening and grow your own, don't even bother. They're okay with the little pop-up greenhouses, you know, that are sort of 2.5, 3 foot square, little cover just to pop up early on, or put inside a polytunnel like I have, like a bit of a double glazing thing. But yeah, don't bother getting anything. I mean, that's probably about 16mm tube. It's rubbish. It just rots on all the welds. It falls to pieces. I mean, you can see how many of the cheap pop-up things I've had by the amount of junk poles. They're just no good. But I use them poles for like holding the alkaline in place, you know, when I do the hoops. So I don't like chucking anything away. Right, we'll have a look at what I've been getting on with. Oh, I've got a load of wood. It's currently all cut to size. Don't know how well you can see because I can't really see my phone. It's all stacked. It's also like giving a bit of a treatment with some stuff and that, but I mean, yeah, you got to watch it contaminating the ground, but it's only a thin coat, and to be honest, I might put some plastic on the inside of it. I don't know, but it's just a time factor how long this sun's going to be like this. But all the stakes which I cut myself, all this has been cut. It all comes 16-foot lengths, and then under here, trying to dry it out because it's bloody heavy when it's wet and it's hard to cut. There is all the timber to do the 4 main beds at the plot and the 2 smaller beds. So there's a lot of weight in that rack at the moment, but I thought, well, I need someone to dry it out. There's no point me taking it down to the plot soaking wet. You know, while it's underwater either, it's just going to start rotting it, because I'm not going to treat it. It's pressure treated. Anyway, you know, I'm expecting anywhere between 5 to 10 years out of it. You know, everything, all this lot, cost me, I think it was about 250 quid for all the wood. And I've even got some leftover stuff down here. Like I say, I might use that for, you know, making little boxes. And I've also got 4 more lengths of 16 foot left, which I've just put gutter over to stop it getting too wet. So there's a big job breaking out, which will probably be a couple of days, where pretty much basically everything at the top end here, except for that bed in the corner. Don't know what I'm going to do with that yet. I'm probably putting a new bit of strip of timber across the front of it. I mean, all that old scaffold planks is going rotten, so I might use them spare planks to try and prop in there. Because I think I paid about 4 quid each for them planks years ago, but they're just rotten now. So all this compost is all the pots of knocking around the garden with plants that had died off or had my courgettes in. I've thrown that there. That's all going to go in the beds, because as you can see, these beds are only they're sort of like 3x2, these beds, and that's 6x1 timber. So whatever that is in metric, 150 mil by sort of 25 mil is what it's going to be. These beds are fairly standard size, really. That's 3 foot by 8 foot. That's 4 foot by 8 foot. You know, they're sort of standard. I do prefer a 5 foot bed myself, but sort of restricting in the top of the garden here so I can fit in. This big bed, I think it's I can never remember the measurement, but I did measure it the other day. I think it's 12 by 14, I think, and I have this little carrot section on the end here, which I'm going to keep. I might do it a little bit wider, but all of it is going to get renewed. That carrot box isn't going to get renewed, but I might use the leftover to make something different, or not bother with that carrot box, because it doesn't do very well, that. Another job I've done, which was a bit boring, was core all this out. I've just put pots in to stop it collapsing in, but they're all cored out already, to sieve out some compost. Now I'm just going to use my old potato compost for that from last year, all the stuff that I've got in the Polytunnel, you know, that I pulled out and put in my compost bay, and just sieve it. The idea is trying to cut some costs this year. Obviously I've had to fork out for that wood, and that's probably cost me like 2 years worth of videos. So you don't get much for your videos, you know, because I don't get any handouts as such, you know, or donations or anything like that. So I don't do the YouTube videos for money at all. Never intended, but every little helps. So I thought I'd just do a bit of an update and say there's going to be no seed sowing for a few days. I have pricked my tomatoes out, but I've got a couple that were late, so I'm going to video them pricking them out, and we'll have a look at my lights in that video, as well as sowing some of these brunch shallots and probably celery and more spring onions, because the ishikuras weren't too great at germination, to be honest. The guardsmen were okay. I'll just turn you around, because say I'm not going to edit this. This is just fully on the fly. You know, it's been a nice day today, nice yesterday, but before that we had a lot of rain. So how long this is going to last, I've no idea. But it's nice to actually be outside and not have to be wrapped up in blustery wind and cold, freezing, thinking, what am I doing? Anyway, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you probably in about 4 or 5 days. See you now, bye bye.